Dude, you have to hear about this book I just read, The 5 Types of Wealth. It's a total game changer. Seriously, it starts by calling out this lie we've all been taught our whole lives, that wealth is all about money. The author, Sahil Bloom, is basically like, harsh truth, you've been lied to. He says that a truly rich life isn't just about your bank account, it's defined by everything else that money can't buy. So, he lays out this awesome new system based on the 5 types of wealth. And it's not just financial wealth. He talks about time wealth, having freedom over your time, social wealth, your relationships, mental wealth, purpose and growth, and physical wealth, your health. It's this whole new way of looking at things to build a life that's genuinely happy and fulfilling, no matter what stage you're in. And that's the best part, it's for everyone. Whether you're just graduating, in the middle of the career grind, or retired, it's like a playbook for your life. He promises it'll help you unlock stuff like real control over your own time, deeper connections with people you care about, clarity on your purpose, better health and more energy, and yeah, a simple path to financial independence too. The way he writes is awesome, it's full of stories and questions and actual stuff you can do right away. It's not preachy at all, just super inspiring. You've got to check it out. Part 1, Designing Your Dream Life. Chapter 1, 1000 Years of Wisdom. So, check this out, the author kicks off the book with his super cool birthday tradition. Instead of gifts, every year he does some interesting challenge to grow as a person, like a silent walk or a crazy Japanese ritual. But in late 2022, after his son was born, he was really wrestling with the whole concept of time and its meaning. So, he decided to seek wisdom from people who've had a lot more of it. He went and interviewed a dozen people in their 80s and 90s, asking them the simple question, what advice would you give to your younger self? He ended up with over 1,042 years of incredible, lived experience in these chats. The advice was pure gold and deeply moving. His 94-year-old grandmother in India told him, never fear sadness, as it tends to sit right next to love. A 98-year-old Hollywood writer said, never raise your voice, except at a ball game. Another person wisely advised, treat your body like a house you have to live in for another 70 years. They talked about having fun, building relationships, and taking care of themselves. But here's the real kicker, the part that sets up the whole book. In all those conversations, across all that wisdom, not a single person mentioned money. He realized our society is obsessed with it, but the wisest people know it's not the end goal. He even brings up research showing that millionaires almost always say they need 2 to 3 times more money to be truly happy, proving it's a never-ending chase. And he tells this story about a friend who sold his company for $100 million, rented a yacht to celebrate, and still felt down because he saw a bigger boat next door. It all leads to the book's core idea, a truly wealthy life may be enabled by money, but in the end, it will be defined by everything else. Chapter 2, The 5 Types of Wealth. Okay, so then he gets into this idea of the Pyrrhic victory, a concept from an ancient Greek king who won a battle but lost so many soldiers that he was basically ruined. He compares this to our lives. We might be crushing it at work, hitting every target, getting huge bonuses, but we're missing our kids' game or our anniversary dinner. We're winning the money battle but losing the much more important life war. The problem, he says, is that we're using a broken scoreboard, one that measures success almost entirely with money. And because what gets measured gets managed, we end up optimizing for money at the expense of everything else. To fix this, he gives us a new scoreboard, the 5 types of wealth. This is the core of the whole book. It's a complete system to help you see the bigger picture. It's not just about money, financial wealth, but also about your freedom over your time wealth, the depth of your relationships, social wealth, your sense of purpose and growth, mental wealth, and your health and vitality, physical wealth. This new framework is designed to be a better tool for measurement, decision-making, and proactively designing your life. It helps you realize that happiness isn't a destination you reach after you get rich, it's something you build into the journey itself. It's all about playing the right game and making sure you don't climb a mountain for 30 years only to realize you're on the wrong one. Chapter 3, The Wealth Score. And to make it super practical, he doesn't just leave these 5 wealth types as an abstract idea. He gives you a tool called the Wealth Score. It's an actual quiz you take right at the beginning of the book to figure out where you stand right now. He says it's crucial to establish this baseline so you can measure your progress as you go through the book and apply its ideas to your life. You can even come back to it in the future to track how you're doing, kind of like checking your financial net worth online. The quiz itself is dead simple. For each of the 5 types of wealth, there are 5 straightforward statements. For example, under time wealth, one statement is, I am in control of my calendar and priorities. You just rate how much you agree with each statement on a scale from 0, strongly disagree, to 4, strongly agree. Then you add up your score for each section. The max score for each wealth type is 20, and the total overall score is 100. The best part is the visual he provides. It's a circular chart, like a pie chart with 5 slices, one for each type of wealth. You fill in your scores, and you get this instant, unique visual snapshot of your life's balance. It immediately shows you which slices of your life are full and which might be looking a little empty, giving you a clear idea of where you need to focus your energy to build a more comprehensively wealthy life. Chapter 4, The Life Raiser. This chapter had a super cool story from the movie Apollo 13 that really sticks with you. The astronauts are in deep trouble, their ship is damaged, and they have to manually steer it back to Earth. To avoid burning up or skipping off into space, they needed a perfect angle, but their computers were out. Their solution was genius in its simplicity: just keep the Earth in the tiny triangular window. That one simple rule cut through all the chaos and saved their lives. The author calls this a life raiser, a simple principle or rule of thumb that helps you shave away unnecessary actions and make tough decisions when life gets complicated and chaotic. He then gives this awesome real-life example from Mark Randolph, the co-founder of Netflix. Randolph's rule was that he never missed his Tuesday night dinner with his wife, no matter what crisis was happening at work. He'd leave the office at 5 p.m. sharp. He realized this small ritual was about more than just dinner. It was a symbol that showed everyone, his wife, his kids, his employees, what his true priorities were. It had positive ripple effects everywhere. A powerful life raiser has 3 traits: it's controllable, it's ripple creating, and it's identity defining. The idea is for you to create your own by completing the sentence, I am the type of person who underscore. This gives you a single point of focus, your own Earth in the window, to navigate life's storms with clarity and purpose. Chapter 5, Your True North. This chapter is all about making sure you're heading in the right direction, because as the author's parents told him in a message inscribed on a compass they gave him, life is about direction, not speed. To figure out your own true north, he introduces a brilliant goal-setting framework with 2 parts, goals and anti-goals. Goals are the obvious part, the big, audacious things you want to achieve, the summit of the mountain you're climbing. But the anti-goals part is the game changer. It's a concept he got from entrepreneur Andrew Wilkinson. It's about defining the things you absolutely want to avoid on your journey, the sacrifices you're not willing to make. It's based on Charlie Munger's idea, all I want to know is where I'm going to die, so I'll never go there. So if your goal is to be a CEO, your anti-goal might be to never let your health suffer or miss your kid's childhood. It prevents a Pyrrhic victory. To actually make progress, he says you need high-leverage systems, daily actions that create amplified results, kind of like how Lionel Messi strategically walks on the field to conserve energy for the perfect moment to strike. And maybe the best part is his dimmer switch idea. Instead of thinking about life's priorities as on-off switches, where focusing on your career means turning off your family, think of them as dimmer switches. You can turn up the focus on one area for a season, while just dimming, not extinguishing, the others. This framework, your life raiser for identity, your compass of goals and anti-goals for direction, and your systems for progress, gives you a complete toolkit to design your life intentionally. Part 2, Time Wealth. Chapter 6, The Big Question. Man, this chapter hits hard. He starts with the big question that changed his own life. How many moments do you have remaining with your loved ones? He tells the story from the prologue about how an old friend did some simple math for him. His parents were in their mid-60s, and he saw them about once a year, so his friend calculated that he might only see them 15 more times before they die. This math that broke me was a huge wake-up call. To drive the point home, he uses data from the American Time Use Survey, visualized in 6 graphs that are just jaw-dropping. They show how your time with your parents and siblings drops off a cliff after you turn 20. The time you have with your friends also peaks at 18 and then falls sharply. And the window of time when you are your children's entire world is devastatingly short. Conversely, the time you spend with your partner trends up your whole life, which really underscores how important it is to choose wisely. And the time you spend alone also steadily increases, which means you have to learn to love your own company. The core message, echoed by thinkers like Tim Urban and Sam Harris, is that we are often much closer to the last time we will experience something with someone than we realize. It's a powerful push to stop taking these moments for granted and to start being truly present, because as the chapter's opening song says, it's later than you think. Chapter 7, A Brief History of Time. This one is a fascinating trip through humanity's relationship with time. He starts with the ancient Roman tradition of memento mori, remember you must die, where a slave would whisper this in a victorious general's ear during his parade to keep him humble. He talks about how early societies, from ancient India to the Mayans, saw time as cyclical and even worshipped it by creating gods of eternity. Then, the focus shifted from worship to measurement, with the invention of sundials, water clocks, and eventually hyper-accurate atomic clocks that won't lose a second in 10 billion years. This obsession with precision was matched by a scientific quest to understand time itself, from Newton's view of it as a fixed, universal constant to Einstein's revolutionary theory of relativity, which showed that time can stretch and shrink. This whole historical journey leads up to our modern paradox. Despite living longer than ever and having incredible time-saving technology, we feel like we have no control. He uses the Red Queen effect from Alice in Wonderland as the perfect metaphor. We're running faster and faster just to stay in the same place. We're constantly busy, but our attention is so scattered by a relentless barrage of digital notifications that we suffer from attention residue, which impairs our ability to think deeply. He argues that the solution lies in the ancient Greek concept of kairos, qualitative, meaningful moments, and learning to focus on them instead of just letting chronos, clock time, mindlessly tick by. Chapter 8, The 3 Pillars of Time Wealth. So after showing us why our relationship with time is so messed up, he breaks down how to fix it with a clear, 3-pillar progression: awareness, attention, and control. Each pillar builds on the last one. It all starts with awareness, which is truly internalizing that time is your most precious, non-renewable asset. He introduces the brilliant concept of being a time billionaire. When you're 20, you literally have about 2 billion seconds left to live. The paradox is that we subconsciously know how valuable our time is. You wouldn't trade your remaining years for Warren Buffett's billions, yet we consciously waste it on low-value things. Once you have that awareness, you move to the second pillar, attention. This is the game changer. It's about focusing your mental energy to get huge results from small inputs, breaking that linear 1-to-1 trade of time for output. He uses the analogy of Woody from Toy Story using Buzz's helmet as a magnifying glass to focus the sun's rays and light a rocket. Scattered attention gets you nowhere. Concentrated attention creates asymmetric outcomes, just like Isaac Newton did during his miracle year in lockdown. The final pillar and ultimate goal is control. By using focused attention to become more efficient, you actually create new time for yourself. You go from being a time taker, whose calendar is owned by others, to a time maker, who has the freedom to choose how, where, and with whom you spend your most valuable asset. Chapter 9, The Time Wealth Guide. This chapter is the ultimate toolbox. It's packed with 12 super actionable systems, broken down by the pillars of awareness, attention, and control, so you can pick and choose what you need most. To build awareness, he gives you the time wealth hard reset, that scary but necessary math exercise to calculate how many times you'll see a loved one again. He also suggests the energy calendar, where you color code your daily events as energy creating or energy draining to see where your time is really going. To sharpen your attention, he offers some killer tools. There's Warren Buffett's two-list exercise, where you list your top 25 priorities, circle the top 5, and then ruthlessly make the other 20 your avoid at all costs list. He also covers the Eisenhower matrix, the classic tool to separate tasks into what's important versus urgent, so you can focus on the right quadrant. For boosting control, he has a great section on the art of no, giving you simple tests to decide whether to take on a new commitment. My favorite is his system for the 4 types of professional time, which helps you time block your schedule for management, creation, consumption, and ideation, ensuring you make space for deep thinking and learning, not just meetings and emails. It's all incredibly practical stuff you can start using today. Chapter 10, Summary, Time Wealth. Okay, so to wrap up the whole time wealth section, the author gives a great little summary. He reminds us of the big, gut punch question that started it all: how many moments do you have remaining with your loved ones? It really frames the entire section as something deeply personal and urgent. Then, he recaps the 3 pillars you need to build this type of wealth. First is awareness, which is just fully accepting that your time is finite and incredibly precious. Second is attention, which is your superpower to focus on what actually matters and ignore all the noise. And the final goal is control, which is the freedom to own your time and decide exactly how you want to spend it. He also points you back to your baseline score from the Wealth Score quiz for this section, so you have a concrete starting point. From there, he encourages you to use his goal-setting framework to really get specific about what you want to achieve. You set your goals, like what score do you want to hit in a year, your anti-goals, the negative outcomes you want to avoid, like being too busy for your family, and your high-leverage systems, the 2 to 3 specific tools from the guide you'll actually use to make progress. And to get you started immediately, he gives a 1-week jumpstart plan. Just use the energy calendar for 1 week. This simple act of tracking what gives you energy versus what drains you provides instant clarity and helps you start making better choices right away. It's a perfect, actionable way to end the section. Part 3, Social Wealth. Chapter 11, The Big Question. Alright, moving on to social wealth. This part starts with another heavy-hitter question, one that really makes you stop and think: who will be sitting in the front row at your funeral? It immediately cuts through all the superficial stuff and forces you to identify the people who truly matter in your life. To bring this home, he tells the incredibly moving story of a man named Eric Newton, whose wife, Aubrey, was diagnosed with a rare and aggressive cancer. In her final days, Aubrey had a powerful realization. Her one regret was not spending more time deepening her relationships with the people she cared about. She understood that, in the end, the only thing that matters at all is the quality of the relationships with the people we love. This defines the core of social wealth. It's not about having a ton of friends or a huge network, but about the depth of your connection with those few irreplaceable front-row people. He points out the massive irony of our modern world. We have more connectedness through technology than ever before, but we often feel less truly connected and more lonely. The main takeaway is that all the other kinds of wealth, money, achievements, freedom, feel empty and bland if you don't have people to share them with. He reframes the old saying, focus on the journey, not the destination, to focus on the people. Because when you have the right people with you, the journey is more beautiful and the destination is more brilliant. Chapter 12, The Uniquely Social Species. So, why are friends and relationships so fundamentally important to us? This chapter gets into the fascinating science and history behind our need for connection. He kicks it off with a cool idea from the famous anthropologist Margaret Mead. When she was asked what the first sign of civilization was, she didn't say clay pots or hunting tools. She said it was a healed femur bone. In the wild, an animal with a broken leg is dead meat. A healed femur meant that someone else had taken the time to care for the injured person, to hunt for them, protect them, and bring them water. It was the first evidence of community and support. Then he brings in the ultimate proof, the Harvard study of adult development, which is the longest-running study on health and happiness, having followed 724 men for over 85 years. The number one finding from this massive study is absolutely staggering. The biggest predictor of your long-term health and happiness isn't your cholesterol, your social class, or your IQ. It's how satisfied you are in your relationships at age 50. The people who were happiest in their relationships at 50 were the healthiest at 80. On the flip side, the study found that loneliness is literally toxic, increasing health risks as much as smoking or alcoholism. He connects this to the modern loneliness pandemic, citing a friendship recession where we spend more time alone and have fewer close friends, which is literally bad for our health. It's a powerful argument for taking your friendships as seriously as you take your diet or finances. Chapter 13, The Days Are Long but the Years Are Short. This next one is a real gut punch, especially for parents. The title says it all, the days are long, but the years are short. He tells the story of Greg Sloan, a vice president at Goldman Sachs who was on the fast track, making great money and building a huge career. But everything changed when he had to miss his 5-year-old son's Donuts with Dad event because of a business trip. When his wife told his son he'd be gone, his son just shrugged and said, "That's okay, Dad's never around anyway." Those words hit Greg so hard that he quit his job later that year, a decision he says he has never regretted. The chapter is about this magic 10-year window when you are your kid's favorite person in the entire world. After that, they find other favorite people, like friends and partners. The problem is, this precious window usually lines up perfectly with a parent's peak career-building years, and it's incredibly easy to get the trade-off wrong without even realizing it. He quotes a viral Reddit post that puts it perfectly: 20 years from now, the only people who will remember that you worked late are your kids. He clarifies that he isn't saying you should tank your professional ambition. Instead, he argues that it's crucial to have the clarity to make a conscious choice, to design your balance on purpose, rather than letting it happen by default. It's a powerful reminder to be present during those irreplaceable years, because you simply can't get them back. Chapter 14, The 3 Pillars of Social Wealth. Okay, so how do you actually build this social wealth? He breaks it down into 3 clear pillars that act as a blueprint: depth, breadth, and earned status. Depth is your foundation. It's not about how many people you know, it's about those super close, ride-or-die relationships with your inner circle, your front-row people. This kind of bond is built over long periods through honesty, supporting each other through tough times, and sharing experiences. He makes the great point that, like muscles, these deep relationships will atrophy if you neglect them. Next is breadth, which is about connecting to a wider circle of friends and community. This is what gives you that feeling of belonging to something bigger than yourself, whether it's a local club, a spiritual group, or a professional network. But the most interesting pillar is earned status. He makes this brilliant distinction between bought status, like a fancy car or an expensive watch, and earned status, which is the real, lasting respect and admiration you get from your peers. The kicker is that you can't buy the good stuff. He quotes investor Naval Ravikant, who said, "A fit body, a calm mind, and a house full of love. These things cannot be bought, they must be earned." The pursuit of bought status is a losing game because there's always a bigger boat, but earned status, which comes from your character, skills, and how you treat people, is durable and truly valuable. Chapter 15, The Social Wealth Guide. And now for the how-to manual. This chapter is packed with 10 super useful systems to actually build your social wealth across those 3 pillars. For building depth, he includes a fantastic system for couples called the Life Dinner, which is a dedicated monthly check-in to discuss personal, professional, and relationship goals. It's a structured way to ensure you and your partner keep growing together. He also breaks down the 5 love languages and relationship researcher John Gottman's 4 horsemen, the 4 communication styles: criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling, that are the biggest predictors of divorce, so you know exactly what traps to avoid. For developing breadth, there's an anti-networking guide that's all about building genuine connections instead of just transactionally collecting contacts. It focuses on being interested rather than trying to be interesting. My favorite idea here is creating a personal brain trust, which is like having your own personal board of advisors for your life, made up of 5 to 10 diverse people you respect who can give you candid feedback. And for cultivating earned status, he has a practical public speaking guide with tips to build authority and confidence, and a set of status tests to help you figure out if you're chasing the right kind of status, the earned kind, instead of the fleeting, bought kind. It's all super useful, actionable stuff. Part 4, Mental Wealth. Chapter 17, The Big Question. This section on mental wealth kicks off with a really playful but profound question. What would your 10-year-old self say to you today? It's all about reconnecting with that sense of pure, uninhibited curiosity we all had as kids. To illustrate this, he tells the awesome story of a 90-year-old man named Hank Behar. For his birthday, instead of a party, he asked to spend a day attending classes at Harvard. So there he was, a 90-year-old man sitting in the front row of a freshman astronomy class, just because he was curious. The author argues that this curiosity is literally the real fountain of youth. And science actually backs this up. Studies show that curiosity is linked to better cognitive function, higher life satisfaction, and lower anxiety as we age. But for most of us, that natural childhood wonder fades as we become adults and get bogged down by the busyness of life. He warns that a life without curiosity becomes a life of stasis, which is a terrifying thought. He encourages us to do a little mental time travel and have a chat with our 10-year-old self. Would that kid be excited about the life you're living, or would they be disappointed that you stopped exploring and having fun? It's a powerful reminder to fight against the incurious sameness of adulthood and to stay interested in the world, just like Hank. Chapter 18, A Tale as Old as Time. This chapter is a beautiful look at how the search for purpose is a timeless, universal human story, a hero's journey that we are all on. He connects all these powerful ancient ideas from different cultures that are all trying to answer the same question of how to live a meaningful life. He talks about the story of Siddhartha Gautama leaving his luxurious palace to confront suffering and eventually becoming the Buddha. He brings in the Hindu concept of Dharma, which is your own unique, sacred duty in life. A key line from the Bhagavad Gita says it's better to perform your own dharma imperfectly than to perform another's well. He also touches on the ancient Greek idea of arete, striving to reach your full potential, to achieve eudaimonia, a state of human flourishing, and the Japanese concept of ikigai, your reason for life, which is found at the intersection of what you love, what you're good at, and what the world needs. He then contrasts this ancient wisdom with the modern world, which constantly tries to pull you toward normalcy and equilibrium. He quotes Jeff Bezos, who said that maintaining your distinctiveness takes a lot of energy, but it's a fight that is absolutely worth the price. It's an inspiring call to action to embrace your own unique hero's journey and not just blend in. Chapter 19, The 3 Pillars of Mental Wealth. Here, he lays out the 3 pillars for building a strong mind, using Steve Jobs' famous Stanford commencement address as a perfect introduction. Jobs urged graduates not to waste their limited time living someone else's life, which perfectly sets up the first pillar. Purpose. Purpose is about having the clarity to define your own unique vision and not being trapped by the dogma of other people's thinking. He points to research on blue zones, places where people live extraordinarily long lives, which found that having a clear sense of purpose is a common trait and is linked to a longer, happier life. And crucially, this purpose doesn't have to be your job. The second pillar is growth. This is all about having a hunger to progress and change, which is driven by what Stanford psychologist Carol Dweck calls a growth mindset. It's the belief that your abilities and intelligence aren't static but can be developed through effort. This mindset makes you resilient and focused on process instead of just outcomes. The final pillar is space. In our crazy connected world, we need to intentionally create moments of stillness and solitude to think, reset, and listen to our own inner voice. He tells the story of Matthew Ricard, a monk often called the world's happiest man, whose brain scans show incredible activity linked to happiness after decades of meditation, proving that these practices literally change your brain for the better. Space isn't lazy, it's rocket fuel for the mind. Chapter 20, The Mental Wealth Guide. This chapter is the action plan for your mind, offering 10 practical systems to build up your mental wealth. For finding purpose, he has a great exercise using the Japanese Ikigai framework. It helps you find that sweet spot at the intersection of what you love, what you're good at, and what the world needs. He also introduces the pursuit map, a 2x2 matrix that helps you plot your activities based on how much energy they give you versus your competency at them. This helps you identify and spend more time in your zone of genius, the high-energy, high-competency pursuits. For fostering growth, he includes 2 brilliant techniques. First is the Feynman technique, named after the physicist Richard Feynman, which is a method for deep learning by trying to explain a topic in simple terms, as if you were teaching it to a child. This process quickly reveals the gaps in your own understanding. He also covers the spaced repetition method for actually retaining information effectively, which is based on the science of the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. And for creating space, he's got some great, simple ideas you can start immediately. There's the Power Walk for mental clarity, a personal power-down ritual to create a clear boundary between your work and personal life at the end of the day, and a super simple 1-1-1 journaling method, writing down 1 win, 1 point of tension, and 1 thing you're grateful for, that just takes 5 minutes a day. Part 5, Physical Wealth. Chapter 22, The Big Question. The big question for this section on physical wealth is a fantastic one that really gets you thinking about the long game. Will you be dancing at your 80th birthday party? It forces you to use what author Jane McGonigal calls episodic future thinking, vividly imagining a desired future to motivate your actions today. He tells the inspiring story of Dan Go, a man who, in his early 20s, was on a self-destructive path, feeling worthless and unhealthy. But a single 1-month gym pass, which he received by chance from his brother, changed everything. He started working out, and that first small sign of progress, having to tighten his belt by 1 notch, created a huge mindset shift. The key idea is that taking charge of your physical wealth acts as a powerful catalyst. It proves to yourself that you are in control of your life, and that confidence spills over into every other area. It's a reminder of that piece of advice from the beginning of the book: treat your body like a house you have to live in for another 70 years. The way you care for it today gets amplified in the future. He drives this point home with the story of NFL quarterback Andrew Luck, who famously retired in his prime, walking away from potentially hundreds of millions of dollars because the constant cycle of injury and pain was destroying his well-being. He chose his long-term physical wealth over immense financial wealth, a powerful example of the trade-offs this book encourages you to consider. Chapter 23, The Story of Our Lesser World. This chapter is a fascinating history lesson on how we think about our bodies. It starts way back with Leonardo da Vinci's famous drawing, the Vitruvian Man. This iconic image was inspired by the ancient Roman architect Vitruvius, who believed the ideal human form was a lesser world, a microcosm of the universe itself. The author then traces our relationship with physicality through the ages. Our hunter-gatherer ancestors were naturally fit because their survival depended on being in constant motion. Then, with the agricultural revolution, life became more sedentary. Later, societies like Sparta glorified the warrior physique, and the ancient Greeks celebrated athleticism in the Olympic Games. After a 1,000-year break during the Middle Ages, when the body was often seen as sinful, the Renaissance brought the human form back into focus. This brings us to today, where we're bombarded by a massive, multi-trillion-dollar wellness industry that's constantly trying to sell us complex solutions, from fad diets to fancy gadgets. But the author argues we don't need all that fancy stuff. He brings up the Pareto principle, or the 80-20 rule, to make a simple but powerful point: 80% of your health results will come from just 20% of the simple, basic habits, like movement, good food, and sleep. It's a great way to cut through the noise. Chapter 24, The 3 Pillars of Physical Wealth. Here, he simplifies everything down to 3 main pillars you can actually control: movement, nutrition, and recovery. To show how foundational these are, he uses the extreme example of tech entrepreneur Brian Johnson, who is spending over $2 million a year on Project Blueprint to reverse his biological age. But even Johnson's hyper-complex regimen is built on these same simple basics. The first pillar, movement, is described as the single most potent tool for a long and healthy life. This covers everything from cardiovascular training, both low-intensity aerobic and high-intensity anaerobic, to strength training and stability/flexibility work. The second pillar is nutrition. He cuts through all the fad diet nonsense to say it's really about fueling your body by eating whole, unprocessed foods most of the time, getting enough protein, and staying hydrated. The final pillar is recovery, where he highlights sleep as nature's miracle drug, essential for brain function, emotional control, and physical restoration. To make it feel achievable, he presents these pillars within a simple level 1, 2, 3 framework. This encourages you to master the basics at level 1, like moving 30 minutes a day, eating 80% whole foods, and getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep, before you even think about leveling up to more advanced protocols. Chapter 25, The Physical Wealth Guide. This is the workout plan, the diet guide, and the sleep manual all in one. It kicks off with a Physical Wealth 30-day challenge with different levels, bronze, silver, and gold, to get you started on building good habits. He gives you a science-backed morning routine to win your day before it even really starts, built on 5 principles like waking up consistently, hydrating, moving, getting sunlight, and doing focused work. 4. Movement. He provides a detailed Level 3 training plan that tells you exactly how to structure your week. It includes 3 full-body strength workouts, 2 low-intensity aerobic cardio sessions, and 1 high-intensity anaerobic session designed to boost your VO2 max, which is a key indicator of longevity. 4. Nutrition. He gives you the common-sense diet, which is a set of 8 easy-to-follow principles, like eating whole foods 80 to 90% of the time and focusing on protein, along with lists of quality food sources to make shopping easier. And to make sure you're recovering properly, the guide includes 9 rules for sleep to optimize your sleep quality, like keeping a regular schedule and getting morning sunlight, and even some science-backed breathing protocols, like the physiological sigh, to help you calm down and manage stress. Part 6, Financial Wealth. Chapter 27, The Big Question. The final section opens with the ultimate money question, the one that gets to the heart of what financial wealth really is. What is your definition of enough? He shares this fantastic story about authors Kurt Vonnegut and Joseph Heller at a billionaire's party. When Vonnegut pointed out that their host made more money in a day than Heller's famous book, Catch-22 had earned in its entire history, Heller replied with the perfect comeback: "I've got something he can never have, the knowledge that I've got enough." That's the core idea of the whole chapter. Without this knowledge of enough, you're stuck on a never-ending treadmill, always chasing more because of social pressure and what psychologists call hedonic adaptation, where you get used to new things and immediately want the next upgrade. This endless chase can lead to dissatisfaction and even ruin, as seen with billionaires who take huge risks and end up in prison just to get even more. The solution is to consciously define and embrace your enough life, a life of lagom, a Swedish term for just the right amount. He guides you to vividly imagine this life, where you live, what you have, and how you spend your days. By defining this, your goal shifts from an endless pursuit of money to simply building enough financial wealth to enable the specific, fulfilling life, after which you are free to reallocate your energy to the other 4 types of wealth. Chapter 28, The Financial Amusement Park. This chapter is a wild ride through the history of money to show us how we ended up in today's crazy financial amusement park. He starts with the story of Jacob Fugger, a 15th-century banker who became arguably the richest man who ever lived by playing the money game ruthlessly, but he died with few friends and a disappointed family. He then traces how money went from being something real and tangible, like barley, cowrie shells, or gold coins, to something completely abstract. The first big leap was paper money, which Kublai Khan forced on his subjects in the 13th century. The abstraction hit another level with the invention of fractional reserve banking and, most importantly, when countries abandoned the gold standard in the 20th century. This completely untethered money from the physical world and tied it instead to trust and human imagination. This leads to the present day, where money is just numbers on a screen and the financial world is set up like a game to lure you in. He calls it a financial amusement park with shiny, risky rides like speculative cryptocurrencies and NFTs that are designed to be addictive. The advice is simple: ignore the siren song of the crazy, high-risk rides and stick to the boring, proven basics. All you need to do to succeed is play your own game and stick with it long enough. Chapter 29: The 3 Pillars of Financial Wealth. This chapter makes building wealth sound so simple and achievable, which is a huge relief. He breaks it all down into 3 straightforward pillars that anyone can follow: income generation, expense management, and long-term investment. It all starts with creating a gap between what you earn and what you spend. The first pillar, income generation, is the primary focus because, as he wisely points out, you can only cut your expenses so much, but your potential to increase your income is infinite. This is all about building and leveraging marketable skills. The second pillar is expense management, which is about the discipline of living below your means and, crucially, avoiding lifestyle creep as your income goes up. This ensures the gap between your income and expenses actually grows over time. Then, the magic happens with the third pillar, long-term investment. You take that gap you've created and let it compound over time. He uses Warren Buffett as the perfect example, showing how the vast majority of his massive fortune was built after his 60th birthday, purely because of the incredible power of compounding. The main point is that time is the most important ingredient in your investment success, not trying to be a genius stock picker. For most people, this simply means consistently investing in low-cost, diversified index funds and then letting time do the heavy lifting. Chapter 30: The Financial Wealth Guide. This is the ultimate practical guide to your money, full of actionable systems and frameworks. First, he walks you through a crucial exercise to define your enough life, getting you to write down the specifics of a life where you have just the right amount of money. This creates a tangible, personal target to aim for, instead of just chasing more. Then, in a collaboration with Ramit Sethi, he includes a bunch of financial wealth hacks, like focusing on big wins, $30,000 questions like salary negotiation, instead of sweating the small stuff, $3 questions like the cost of your daily coffee. 4. Income generation. He offers 7 great pieces of career advice, like always focusing on creating value for others and developing storytelling skills, plus a list of 6 valuable meta skills, like sales and writing, to build for a high-income future. 4. Expense management. He gives you 7 basic principles, including creating a budget, automating your savings, and maintaining an emergency fund. 4. Long-term investment. He breaks down 8 different asset classes, from stocks to real estate to royalties, and even includes a return-on-hassle spectrum to help you evaluate which investments are actually worth your time and energy. And he ends with the best advice of all: the single greatest investment you can ever make is in yourself, in your education, your health, and your skills. So, the way he wraps up the whole book is just awesome. He starts with that incredible scene from the movie Inception, where Leonardo DiCaprio's character is asked if he wants to take a leap of faith or live a life full of regret. The author then makes it super personal, saying his own life is the result of taking that leap. He talks about how embracing this whole 5 types of wealth system completely changed his world. He's built a thriving business, creates content that influences millions, designed a health routine that has him looking and performing better than ever, and now has total flexibility and control over his time. But the part that really gets you is when he says, "But above all else, I have my people." He shares this beautiful, heartwarming image of hearing his 2-year-old son giggling in the morning and getting ready to drive to see his parents. Visits that used to be once a year but are now frequent because he moved his family across the country to be closer to them. He admits that even though he probably gave up money by changing his path, he feels like the wealthiest man on the face of the earth because he's living his dream life by measuring and acting on the right things. He leaves you with a final challenge to do the same. He says you need to measure your life across all 5 pillars, make big decisions by considering their impact on everything, your time, relationships, purpose, health, and finances, and proactively design the life you want across its different seasons. It all comes back to that powerful question: are you ready to take your own leap of faith? It's such a perfect, inspiring way to end.